Kong was slightly surprised. Was he suspecting him? Of course not, everyone in this school knows who Abel is. He looked at her and replied, I know a little bit. She immediately said, I don't know you. She frowned. What did he mean? Isn't it a bit odd that you know my name but I don't know yours? Should I tell my name to a stranger I just met? For all I know, you could be a demon lord spy trying to infiltrate the academy. Or I can't think of any reason why you're still sitting here alone at this late hour. He felt a little speechless. She held her sword, ready to fight depending on his answer. But there's no reason, so why are you here? Isn't it obvious? I'm training here. I'm also training. What are you training? She frowned, curious. He calmly and softly answered. At this moment, he noticed the wounds on her hands. Seeing that, she immediately hid her hands full of wounds. Seeing her like this, he didn't ask much. You're really very diligent, of course. People don't know what it feels like to have Nibelung blood flowing in you. They always have to put on a perfect facade. If they show a little weakness, everyone will trample on it. You know I'm not the student with the highest score this year. To be honest, this is the first time I lost to someone, but you know what? Saying this, her cheeks flushed, and a small smile appeared on her lips. On the contrary, I feel a little relieved, but on the other hand, I'm still curious who defeated me. I want to know who they are. I'll crush them next time. Do you really have to go that far? It's a matter of honor. I begged him for more details, but he said that person isn't even in my class. That person even dared to break the advantage. How can I live with second-rate labels forever? Why would I say these things to a stranger? Why would you tell me? Tilting her head, she looked at Kong and replied, Because you seem weak. My family's motto is to be firm with the strong and merciful with the weak. Everyone in my class is very good at what they do, so I don't have any friends. That's why the character it just feels so distant. I think I'll be here tonight, so hello. She suddenly became quiet and thought about something. So, will you tell me your name? Or he immediately replied, I don't want to. What a guy. The next morning in class, Kong sat and thought about how life at the academy was more peaceful than he thought. Chloe quickly made friends with others and integrated into the whole class, while I had to busy avoiding eye contact and confrontation. In case of eye contact with him, his new friend will look at me with cold eyes, but I can't take those disdainful glances as nothing. Furthermore, I'm not the only special student in this tiger-level class. There aren't many people like me, but they're very hesitant to attack others, probably because they have too much of an illusion of strength. If you think about it this way, it's fortunate to be in the higher classes. Because right now, the spirit level and dragon level classes are vying for power. Before, he thought of them as clowns. If he were in that class now, his head would explode. At least now he could eat and sleep well. What should he eat today? Thinking this, he happily pulled out a card. He remembered Kumdia giving him the card earlier. Top students like you should have received this treatment earlier. Sorry for the wait. Looking at the school faculty card, his heart fluttered. Even if he bowed 3 times a day to the principal, he couldn't express his gratitude enough. Now, 1 minute of silence begins. He emphasized each word in his mind. Thank you very much. He had fulfilled his duty as a student, right? He hadn't changed the main storyline too much, so he would just live like this for the remaining 3 years. If this continues, he could live the life he wanted in the future. 700 years ago. After the first great demon war, the hero Joaquin, who realized the need to cultivate the next generation of heroes, founded this academy with 7 principles. These sentences will be on the test, so remember to study this information carefully. Kong, dazed, slumped on the desk. It was all stuff he knew by heart. Founding hero Joaquin Baylor. In 20 years of fighting against the commander of the First Legion and the right hand of the Demon King Lycan, he fought and won. However, Joaquin lost an arm and could no longer participate in combat. The screams could be heard everywhere. It was a bloody war with no winners or losers. Luckily, humanity in Asia had reached a truce, war. And the hero Joaquin founded this academy to nurture the next generation of talent. Thus, the first human demon war led to the signing of a non-aggression pact, ushering in an era of 700 years of peace. The other students whispered and discussed, wondering if there would be a war in their time, a war in the 21st century. I'm more worried about what to wear to the party tomorrow, haha. Kong fell into a trance. 700 years of peace. I'm the only one who knows about the first crack in this peaceful era. Everyone's become too accustomed to the tranquility. I really want to tell the headmistress what's happening, but I don't know what the consequences will be. Although she hasn't hidden her intention to resign as headmistress as soon as possible. Media is the first character in the story, who sensed the abnormality thanks to her poet lord. And she was also the first among the 7 great heroes to stand up and protect the students. I don't play that stage much, but I really respect her. She was the first person to die in the battle with the Demon King. She gave birth. Thinking back, Kang's eyes suddenly became strangely quiet. He wished he didn't know anything. Just come here today, remember to study hard for the test 2 weeks later. As soon as the class ended, the classroom was bustling with new information. Watching the crowd chattering, Kong curiously pricked up his ears to eavesdrop. Is it him? Then he remembered the game's content, quickly checking his phone. May 1st, today. He won't go to my class, right? Of course, he obviously has to go to the elite class. He tried to look in the crowd if I remember correctly. On May 5th, he'll enroll. The main character of this world. Leon Van Reinhardt, and the first crack in the 700 years of peace will appear. What a nuisance, looking at his handsome face is just annoying. As said, all the women in this game will fall for him. If this were an adult game, maybe it would be better. Leon probably died before fighting the Demon King. Moreover, the girls who fall in love with him are all top tier. Rachel de Mayura, granddaughter of the holy priest Saki Ryojo, the daughter of the holy archer Abel Vaughn. Nibelung, granddaughter of the Sword Emperor. All the main characters are impressed by this hateful guy. But the main character of the Miracle Blessing, thanks to Leon Van Reinhardt, will be one of the first to train in the next 3 years. Actually, rehearsal is an understatement. I refuse to go through it a second time. It's no different from being forced to join the army. Incidentally, even Valor Joaquin could only seal 1 Legion commander, so how strong must the Demon King be? No way, could this be a crazy story where even the main character loses? Without realizing it, Leon sensed something approaching him. He took his eyes off the person in front of him and looked up to search. As soon as they looked up, their eyes met. Leon immediately smiled friendly and wanted to say hello. From that moment Kong understood. Right, we're talking about the blessing miracle, aren't we? The main character will solve it himself. His face is so trustworthy. I don't know when I was convinced. While Kong Yoma was lost in thought, a voice came from behind. He turned around, a little surprised, looking at the owner of the voice. That night at the training court, Kong changed into his training clothes, his hand waving a wooden sword to warm up. He looked at his hands, muttering to himself, as he had predicted, if he didn't meet the standard, the blessing would be activated. A certain level of swordsmanship was required. Then, the person who called him, Chloe, hesitantly spoke. What did I do wrong? Look. With her innocent and simple appearance, Kong could only laugh wryly. I almost lost my head. I really wanted to say that, but we still have to study together for several years. He immediately said, It's nothing. She asked if it was true. He nodded in confirmation. We must maintain peace here. We shouldn't create unnecessary hatred and resentment. Hearing his confirmation, she breathed a sigh of relief. That's a relief. Kong, however, narrowed his eyes skeptically. What's his real way of doing things? Even when unconscious, he could use a sword that seemed sad, a sword that seemed to be crying for help, for some reason, but it was still filled with killing intent. If he intends to deal with someone, it would probably be more dangerous than the Mao brothers. Reason, but it was still filled with killing intent. If he intends to deal with someone, it would probably be more dangerous than the Mao brothers. That's right, Yoma, if it's alright, may I invite you to dinner? I just want to thank you. Of course, I'm not as good at cooking as you. That dinner, speaking of which, the image of Chloe coldly drawing her sword caused him to flinch involuntarily. But Chloe's sparkling, pleading, adorable look. It's a strange look to refuse, but if I agree, I might end up in the embalming chamber tomorrow. His mind raced. Chloe, this is a little strange, but instead of dinner, could you help me with this? How can I help you? I can't think of anyone else but you. Hearing that, Chloe's cheeks flushed. Me, what do I have to do? Could you teach me swordsmanship? That's how we get to the scene of Kong tensely looking at the wooden sword like now. Anyway, I need someone to teach me swordsmanship. It's a good excuse. Chloe is incredibly strong after all. From that day on, the only thing I looked at before going to sleep was how to survive. It seems to be somewhat helpful. Chloe's cheerful voice rang out. Yoma, you've been here since when? I've been waiting over there. Chloe, I just arrived. How about you? Her face bright, she replied without a second thought. I just got here too. What time is it? 6:30. He was speechless, looking at her. We agreed on 8 o'clock, right? Chloe scratched her head and chuckled awkwardly. Right. But... Seeing Kong staring at her intently, Chloe instinctively looked at herself. Is something wrong? Kong shook his head. I didn't notice. He wears his uniform all day, but now I can see his abs and muscles. Now I understand why he's so strong. Anyway, he's cute and respectable. He handed the wooden sword to Chloe. Here, take this. Slightly dazed, she received the sword. I thought we'd be using real swords. Did I hear wrong? Who would train with real swords? It's not a fight to the death. Kong, like a robot, monotonously said. Training, training. We should use wooden swords to avoid injury. Chloe finally understood and awkwardly scratched her head. She looked at the sword in her hand and muttered strangely, so kind, haha. She looked at the wooden sword in her hand, thoughtfully. Then, with a casual swing, she cleaved the earth and dust below like waves. Kang's face paled. How strong is she? It sounds like she cut the air itself. I have to be careful. Finally, the blessing. He quickly opened the system panel to check, confirmed, the sword stats are fine. Physical growth is also stable, but is a normal blessing like this, although normal blessings increase skill levels. But are there any additional effects? I don't remember these things very well. But what's the requirement? Khan seemed to be thinking about something. Chloe hesitantly called out to him. Is something wrong? Oh, sorry, it seems only I can see the system. I probably look like an idiot. It's the first time today, so take it easy. She nodded immediately. Kong. Tighten the sword in that position. Let's begin, shall we? The moment the words left his mouth, the space fell into a chilling silence. In my past life, I always lived realistically, believing only what I saw. To become a master in any field, the sacrifice of blood and bone is not enough. But you must be ready to change your entire body. It's also the fact that I adapted quickly to the academy. The product of what I learned when I was young. My hands were sweating, my posture awkward, but the essence of swordsmanship is precision in targeting the opponent. When he opened his eyes and calmly faced her, Chloe, wielding a wooden sword, approached closer and closer. He flinched for a moment, so sudden, he thought, seeing the wooden sword aimed straight at his neck, too fast. But very quickly he dodged that fatal blow. In just the moment the sword grazed his left cheek. Damn, I said take it easy. Then Chloe changed her grip on the wooden sword, her eyes cold and sharp, and continued her attack. This time Kong blocked an attack from Chloe. His hands gripped the sword tightly, trembling, it felt so heavy. But I still blocked it. I'll strike down like this. But without warning, she leaped into the air, preparing another attack. The situation forced him to change his grip on the sword. Damn it, she's even faster. Was that last attack just a feint? He used all his strength to block Chloe's downward strike. In an instant, cracks appeared in his sword. She continued her relentless attack. Kong fought back while retreating. Chloe now had the upper hand, her attacks overwhelming. Each blow was like a thunderbolt. One hit would be fatal. I'm reaching my limit. There's no chance to counterattack. Until finally, Kang's wooden sword, too, reached its limit and snapped in two. Only then did the fight stop, and Chloe finally came to her senses. Flustered, she apologized. I meant to go easy, but I broke it. She looked timidly at Yoma. The sword is over here. The system also starts operating, the weapon used does not meet the conditions, the weapon has been damaged, an error has occurred, forced startup and self-adjustment gradually reduce humanity. The sword god's blessing activates Heat Kong, who is no longer in control of himself. His whole body radiated strong energy and he held the broken sword as if holding a sharp knife. System mechanism confirms eligibility to activate weapon, warns of weapon trouble. Chloe instinctively jumps away, maintaining the safest possible distance from Kong Yoma. She was completely confused and looked at the strange Kong in front of her as the system automatically started and forced self-adjustment. Humanity is gradually disappearing. Seek God's blessing. As his humanity faded, somewhere in the recesses of his consciousness, he wondered, where am I? The kitchen, was all that just a dream? That's right, I'm preparing the fish, back to work. It's been a long time, should I use the chef's knife again? Oh, why can't I select an item? Then I'll use this knife. Wait, this doesn't work either, don't worry about it, just keep doing what you're doing. So the only knife left is the sashimi knife. Even so, that sashimi knife is very painful to use. It still feels like that. Strange, I don't feel any pain, on the contrary, it feels refreshing. That's exactly it. Continue, leave it to me. Alright, I have to create a masterpiece today. Unconsciously, Kong seemed to be turning into a puppet, controlled by something. That moment the heat activation is ready. Chloe frantically searched for something. Yoma, are you okay, Yoma? But the more he called back, the more there was no response. In the dust and smoke, he was filled with murderous intent, looking for something. In the blink of an eye, Kong disappeared from sight. Only a blue light shot through the obscuring dust. With unbelievable speed, he closed in on Chloe. She quickly raised her sword. Blocked by an overwhelming force that was completely different from just now, she suddenly had no time to adapt. She accidentally slipped and lost her balance. Kong immediately took the opportunity to make a cut as smooth as cutting open a fish's belly. Luckily, Chloe's training kicked in. She blocked the attack with her sword and used Kang's force to propel herself away. She didn't expect him to use so much force. Although she wasn't directly hit, the sheer force of his attack caused internal injuries. He was completely different from before. Kong Yoma's attack sent her deep into the ground. Chloe tried to dodge the blade and maintain distance. Kong had lost all reason. He was like a monster with bloodshot white eyes and immense power. The attack from earlier had sent me flying far away. It hurts to move. What happened to Yoma? I don't understand what's happening. I need to stop this fight now, Yoma. Yoma, I need to stop this fight. But Yoma, lost in his rage, didn't hear her. He attacked again. Too late, Yoma. Chloe, enduring the pain, called out his name, desperately hoping to reach his remaining rationality. As the long, sharp blade neared, Chloe screamed at the top of her lungs, as if her very soul was crying out, Yoma. Yoma's consciousness began to register something. What's going on? Why does it keep happening? I've never seen a fish that could dodge like that, so fast. This is troublesome. I need to finish this quickly, but it sounds like it's trying to say something. Am I hallucinating? Wait, does the fish know my name? Why does it keep calling me Yoma? That's right, it's me. Chloe's scream reached Yoma's subconscious. The strings controlling him vanished. What is this? The fish suddenly became blurry and transformed into Chloe. She was trying to call his name, to bring him back to his senses, Yoma. The wooden knife in his hand plunged deeply into the wall. He unconsciously caught Chloe, unable to stop himself, only managing to brace himself. Chloe opened her eyes and looked. She realized Yoma was gently holding her. He softly said, "Let's call it a day." So gentle, concerned, she looked up at him. Yoma, are you okay? Thank you for the training, I'll go ahead. He turned and left, leaving Chloe staring after him in bewilderment. Outside, Chloe returned to her room after class placement testing. Yoma's skills weren't just raw power, there was something strange about them. It wasn't just skill, it was instinct. Even without using blessing, I'm still no match for him. And that, the wooden sword was broken in two. I know he's strong, but, lost in thought, a voice interrupted her, enjoying yourself, Chloe. It was Chloe's older brother, a second-year student. She hesitated slightly and called him, brother. He frowned. Is sparring with lowlifes all you do after entering the academy? Don't talk about Yoma like that. So that's Yoma. If you continue sparring with that kind of person, the auditor will eliminate him. She remained calm. She closed her eyes, lost in thought for a moment. Walked past him and left a sentence. Even if the whole auditor came, they wouldn't be able to do anything Yoma. Hearing her words, he pondered. He muttered the name Yoma to himself. I need to clarify one thing. The power bestowed upon me is not a blessing or grace, it's more like a curse. To avoid relying on the blessed sword, I need to find new equipment. But that power, despite all my efforts, clings to me, wanting to take over this body, yet I feel no pain. No, not only do I not feel pain, but I even take a strange pleasure in this continuous weakening. I'm like a puppet, bound and controlled by the curse, with sweet whispers in my ears. Cut deeper, destroy more. I have completely surrendered myself to it. Then, Chloe's desperate scream, that name, woke me up from Yoma's influence. In that cry, all the shattered fragments of my world were gathered back. So I threw away the sword, which felt like it was fused to my flesh. I felt like if I didn't throw it away immediately, I would lose myself forever. Until now, he's just a Yandere who wants to possess me, Chloe, the girl who brought me back to my senses, although he was the one who broke the sword and caused the problem, so despite my anger, I still feel grateful. Therefore, I decided to let it go. Even so, I still have to leave quickly to avoid another relapse, but can I really avoid this problem for the rest of my life? The blessed sword's power, a talent that's almost a curse. It's a talent paid for with a human lifespan. It's a talent I have to carry like an alien living in this world. I don't expect much here. I just want to live a normal life. I thought I could handle minor incidents if they happened. But now I realize there's something inside me. Something is devouring my reason. This is not a blessing, but a curse that wants to swallow me whole, forbidden magic. 3 days later, the classroom was still as noisy. There was something crazy yesterday, I'll show you later. She said that and then fell silent again. She looked at Yoma's empty seat. Now I realize I don't even have his contact information. Why didn't I ask before? I even went to his dorm, but the only response to my knocking was a pained cry. I was afraid that if I broke in, he would hate me, so I could only leave. I like watching him from afar when he's resting his chin and lost in thought. I'm afraid he'll think I'm a troublesome person, so I'm careful not to talk to him. At first I thought I was attracted to him because he risked his life to save me, but maybe that was just an excuse. I miss him. Thinking this, she muttered something to herself. The teacher's shout was so loud that the whole school could hear it. Everyone, be quiet. How long have we been studying and it's still like a market? Because it's raining today, we'll study in the classroom instead of training. It seems Kong Yoma isn't in school today either. There must be some reason, so I will wait patiently like a true teacher. Begin the lesson. The whole class shouted in unison, yes, sir. Just then, the door opened, causing Mr. Lee Wonbin to turn around, ready to scold. Who dares to? Suddenly, he froze, as if seeing something strange. The whole class silently followed Mr. Lee Wonbin's gaze. Yoma walked step by step to his seat, his eyes also looking different. I wonder what he went through. His hair now has streaks of white, and his eyes look much older overnight. As soon as she saw him, Chloe jumped up. His voice was neither cold nor warm, neither fast nor slow. I'm sorry for being late, sir. The teacher replied in a flustered tone, all right, sit down. Isn't he a special student? He always looks like that. You're right, I just noticed, he seems even more handsome. Then the whole class buzzed. Yoma silently sat down and continued the lesson. Soon it was time for lunch and the students flocked to the cafeteria. Chloe hesitantly came to talk to him. He lightly replied yes. Chloe. Did something happen? No, nothing. You haven't been to class for a while, so I thought something must have happened. Was it because of the match? At the mention of the match, he fell silent. Then he looked at her and smiled gently, replying that I was just a little sick, but thank you for worrying about me. Looking at Yoma, both familiar and strange, Chloe's heart fluttered uncontrollably. She nervously avoided his gaze. Is that so? Good. But Yoma's eyes told a different story. I thought he wouldn't believe me. For the past 3 days, I've endured excruciating symptoms until I was exhausted. I couldn't leave my room to eat anything. I just lay in bed praying for this nightmare to end. The pain I have to endure is much greater than in the past. That is the price I have to pay for using that broken sword. That's not the only thing that happens when I look in the mirror. My appearance is still the same, but my face is sunken and even my hair has turned white. This is a punishment from the gods. He seemed apologetic. That's right, he saw himself like that during training and had to change the subject. Hey, about dinner, what you mentioned earlier, is it okay today? I was so surprised to see you proactively mention Chloe, really. But this time, I want to eat what you cook. Chloe excitedly jumped up and down, replying immediately, of course, I'll do my best, I'm so happy. Seeing her like that, he smiled. She must really like it. Yoma, today I'll make anything you want to eat. What do you want? I haven't eaten fish in a long time. I threw up everything I ate at your place last time. No, it's because it was too expensive, so I didn't. As he was talking, he suddenly felt something coming to him and immediately turned around to look at the tree next to him, full of doubt. What the hell was going on? Then he looked towards the door. Seeing his alertness, Chloe unconsciously followed his gaze. They both saw him standing right outside the door. He scratched his chin and grinned sinisterly. As soon as Chloe saw something, she immediately knew something was wrong. She froze on the spot, looking at her brother. This expression caught Yoma's eyes. He looked at the man outside and asked Chloe, "Do you know him?" But she didn't answer. From the situation, he had a pretty good guess. Without hesitation, he stepped forward. He stood straight, facing no Siegfried. Their eyes met like sparks flying. If you want to say something, say it, don't just stare. Nox Aditor looked disgusted. His red eyes seemed to glow with murderous intent. What's wrong with his eyes? Chloe rushed forward, stopping Yoma. Don't mind him, Nox. Didn't you say you wouldn't come? Why? You're here again. Why are you like that? His voice was grumpy, but there was a bit of hesitation. Maybe he was shaking. Nox Aditor spat out each word. He's nothing. You actually broke auditor family law for him, Chloe Auditor. Whatever, it doesn't concern me anymore. You talk like that about family. Once you're born an auditor, you're always an auditor. Your sister's acting rebellious, and her brother's like he's in a historical drama. Can you lower your voice? Leave this and come home now, Chloe. She gritted her teeth, trembling. Don't talk to Yoma like that. Can't you speak calmly? Everyone's going to eat. If not, things will get chaotic. I'm used to this kind of thing. Wait, auditor, I get it. I just remembered. Their specialty was infiltration and assassination. They're the shadowy figures that appear in the middle of the game. They're weaker than other hero families, but unmatched when it comes to assassination. All members of the Addit family are ridiculously strong because of their harsh, forced training. Turning them into the most brutal assassination tools, Chloe was born into the Addit family. Damn, if that's the case, then that expression isn't unusual, is it? His expressionless face as he slashed others showed no signs of getting used to it. I'm sure the auditor is pursuing the enemy to strengthen his position. If it's urgent, I don't mind taking action. I think that's reasonable. If you think about this, you look at Chloe who is trembling standing next to you, looking at her bleeding lips, you guess Chloe probably wants to live a normal life. However, like the sword god's blessing, Chloe has grown up in the auditor's environment since childhood, so it's definitely not possible. She's destined to become a cold-blooded killer. Oh no. I'm not a hero. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't be one. Although, it's true I can't save the whole world. He laughs at himself. What am I doing? I'll talk to him, but saving one person, or a girl, should be possible, right? I must accept this power. it's definitely a curse, but it won't let me taste defeat. No matter how hard I try to escape the sword god's blessing, it's impossible. In the animation, they'd say, you can't escape even if you run to the ends of the earth. That's true. If I can't run, I'll charge forward. I am Kong Yoma. My name, Yoma, means sword and demon in its etymology. And I'm a knife user. He glances at Nox, a slight smirk on his lips. Follow me, I'll cut you to pieces. On the other side, Mr. Lu Bian was deep in thought. Something must have happened to Yoma. His face has no expression at all. Senior, what's wrong? Your head's almost bald. Stop making fun of me. I'm sorry, I'm Li Wenbin, the instructor of the tiger class. What's going on? So he's been making fun of it from the beginning. How cute. What, a subspace battle? Suddenly, which student requested it? Who's the opponent? Kong Yoma requested it, and the opponent is Nox Aditor. The subspace doors open. Control panel ready. 15 minutes until the subspace battle. I thought the procedure would be complicated, but it turned out to be simple. If you absolutely must do it, be careful. Anyway, this is outside the scope of reality's interference, so there shouldn't be any external injuries, but internal and mental injuries are unavoidable. Winning is all that matters. The noise reaches even the waiting room. Everyone knows fights are exciting, but I didn't expect the reaction to be this intense. It's strange. Not long ago, I was trying to avoid attention, but now it's meaningless. Chloe sat next to her and cried non-stop. She cried in his ear and smiled awkwardly, as if Chloe thought it was because of him. Chloe, it's not your fault, don't worry. Chloe even lent me her weapons, so it should be fine. She stops crying. The room is awkwardly silent. Chloe suddenly speaks, her voice strong. Chloe is strong too. My brother is a genius, with unparalleled talent in the Aditor family history. No one compares to him in using hidden weapons. At age 14, he was already called the Pinnacle of Shadow Techniques. The Pinnacle of Shadow Techniques, what's with these two? Who came up with that name, right? Thinking back, it's always been like this. No matter how hard I try to avoid it, I end up choosing this path. My destiny is a lifelong sword. I bet he never expected that in my second life, I'd be wielding a sashimi knife to play around. Now, we'll proceed with the subspace pairings. Relevant students, please go to the training grounds. Kong Yoma, 2 knives in hand, starts his journey. I'm off. Chloe hesitates, as if she wants to say something. Seeing her worry, he reassures her. She looks up at him. He pats her shoulder and says, there are many geniuses in this world, but in the end, the victor will be me. Saying that, he leaves with his knives. The doors get closer. He steps into the arena. The light blinds him. When he can see his surroundings, he's overwhelmed by the scene before him. The audience in the stands cheers excitedly. I have faith in you, special student. Do your best. Damn it, I've been looking forward to this battle for a long time. It's like the gladiators of old Rome. I didn't expect it to be this crowded. Far away where only people in cartoons and comics can see. He was surprised to realize that the whole Saint class was also present. The male lead and 3 beautiful and talented beauties were also there to watch the match. His expression seemed even more serious than Yoma, who was on the field. How relaxed he is, while I'm so tense. Nox, as soon as he stepped onto the field, snarled like a long-starved beast. You dare to toy with me, you lowly peasant, don't you know your place? Unable to distinguish between bravery and arrogance, you dare to fight me with such a cheap weapon. With that, he unleashed a dark, murderous technique. But he unconsciously used his murderous aura. This guy is crazy. True masters don't blame their equipment. Hearing that, Nox became even more enraged. First, I must cut out your insolent tongue. Then he drew his silver sword and attacked. Yoma smirked. Look, a feast for the eyes. Aren't those crimson blades? And there are 2 of them. They're also equipped with one of the most advanced aura-concealing protective layers from the Black Fruit's Grace artifact. I sense the killing intent from before has been suppressed. S-rank weapons, sounds ridiculous, but we're taking this seriously. Both sides ready, fight, the referee shouted. Activating the spatial barrier. Hero's guardian grace. As soon as the words left his mouth, both of them charged into battle. Meanwhile, the blessing system has been activated. The sword god's blessing has been activated, divine guardian's grace. The audience suddenly broke out in cold sweat. What was that? No way, this is the tiger class, it's too fast, I can't see anything, isn't this a match between amateurs? I don't know how amateur they are, but those two amateurs are moving at a speed the naked eye can't follow. The only thing visible are streaks of purple and blue clashing continuously. Wow! They're fast, and it's pretty amazing. That seemingly weak guy can fight like that. Neither fighter has gained an advantage. Nox attacks, Yoma dodges. He shifts his grip on his sword. He slices a long line into the ground. He unleashes a series of long, sweeping attacks. Leaving huge marks on the ground, Yoma doesn't get a single hit. Nox grits his teeth, snarling, "You damn fool, see if you can dodge this." He transforms into a blur of darkness, rushing towards Yoma. Yoma is momentarily overwhelmed by his speed. Then, hundreds of dark blades seem to surround him. Nox is extremely smug, it's over. But as the attacks pass, he realizes they were only after images. He dodged that too. While Nox is stunned, Yoma, unnoticed by the audience, lands a single blow, finishing the opponent. He lazily looks at his opponent, his face expressionless. The audience buzzes again. I can see glimpses of it, but it seems the second-year student is taking the upper hand. The first year is just running away. A year's worth of experience makes all the difference. Anyone who doesn't see it won't understand. The second year is launching relentless attacks, but the other guy is dodging them all. It seems he doesn't even want to fight. Nox trembles, his veins bulging. Just as Chloe said, he's not in Siegfried's league. I used the Black Fruit's grace to ensure his defeat, and yet he dodged it so easily. I focused too much on speed and then seeing his strength. I need to be more cautious and aim for a powerful blow that can sweep a large area. The more I looked at it, the angrier I became that I dared to use that cheap kitchen knife. He throws his weapon away mid-battle. What trick is this guy planning? When he was wondering, Makong Yoma took out a better peony pattern knife. Pointed the knife at him. Nox cautiously observed Yoma's every move. His eyes sharp as he glared at his opponent. Nox was losing his composure, cursing both in his head and out loud. That damn bastard, using that posture to mock me, a lowborn, nobody, daring to play the fool. I'll rip you apart with one blow. The blood-stained crimson Will Dao leaves no room for luck. Before he could finish, Yoma's figure vanished. Only a flash of green light appeared. As for me, I just want to live peacefully, avoid attention, and follow the main storyline. This is the worst kind of curse. It constantly pursues and tries to control my body, but something inside me is trying to devour me. What should I do? If I can't escape, then I'll just cut down everything. When that thought flashed, it was time. Nox's neck snapped and he lost an arm. He looked at his severed arm, seeing nothing. Yoma stood behind Nox like a ghost, both hands gripping the knife tightly. The entire auditorium fell silent, everyone frozen by what they had just witnessed. Leon, supposedly the main character of this story, was also stunned. Whether it's a blessing or a curse, I accept it all. Farewell to my peaceful future. The sharp blades sliced smoothly through the air.